Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show, and we're doing the Dynasty Trade Show this evening. We're going to be talking about moving back in the first round, as well as doing some deals with veterans for second-round picks. But first, let's talk about the veterans that are in the news lately, and that would be some veteran wide receivers where they're looking to get extended or looking to have a safe haven for the rest of their playing days, basically. And that would be DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, and Christian Kirk, who, if you didn't hear yet, was first thought to be released, but then actually traded for a seventh rounder to the Houston Texans, who definitely could use a little help there with injuries and the uncertainty of Stephon Diggs. So back to the Deebo Samuel trade, which happened a few days ago back at the Combine. Haven't really touched on that much because of all the Combine news and hoopla and whatever. But Deebo was dealt to the Commanders for a fifth rounder. And so Deebo here gets a new fresh start in Washington, and Jaden Daniels gets an extra weapon. So we know now that the Commanders probably won't take a wide receiver at the end of the first round, but who knows? And then we get to the news of today, and that's of DK Metcalf asking for a trade out of Seattle. And so I saw a tweet earlier today. It showed how it ranked the teams in order of who could use DK Metcalf. And it had normally, it'll show 5 to 7 teams of somebody. It just ranked everybody in all 31 teams. So, but then they came back with saying that they wanted a first and a third. And I think a lot of teams kind of backed off now from that. I know the Packers, it was thought of being, what's up, Chad? Good to see you. The Packers were going to do a first and either Romeo Doubs or Dontavian Wicks, and the Packers would get DK in return for that, and maybe a late round pick added on to the backside of it. But I just don't see the Packers giving up their first rounder. They have never done a deal like this, so I think they'd be out. It would be a huge help, no doubt. The wide receiver room can use a true number one wide receiver for sure. But there's some other great destinations, Buffalo, possibly the Raiders, even New England wouldn't be a bad spot. The Raiders, they'd need Darnold to go there, though, to be their quarterback. Then I just don't trust Russell Wilson going there, giving DK enough looks. I know that DK had his big year in year 2 with Russell Wilson at quarterback, but I don't know what Russ has got left in the tank. I would feel much more secure about DK's next 2 to 3 years, I guess. That's what I'm getting at, if I know that Darnold is there throwing the ball. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, obviously Buffalo would be huge. Josh Allen to DK, I mean, that's ridiculous. And Drake May would be a great quarterback option for him to go to. He wouldn't have as much help at the other wide receiver spots yet, unless they were going to draft another receiver in the first or second round. But we'll see. I do think the Packers will try, though, and it's possible the deal could be done for a second and a fourth. I think the Seahawks would bite on that. So it's possible. I think a second and a fourth for DK and like a fifth back. That's something like that for a real NFL type deal. I think that could be made. See, because the thing is DK is not just he's got 1 year left on his deal. He's playing for a contract, right? And so, or at least last year he was. Now this year he's going to have to prove himself. No matter what kind of deal he gets, the team that gets him is going to get away in the contract to get out after the first year in a deal like this. So yeah, because he's probably going to see a decent signing bonus on this one. But we'll see. I've got enough shares of DK that I wouldn't mind him going somewhere else just because he'll get a slight value bump then. He's pretty much going to go anywhere he goes. He's going to have a better quarterback than Geno Smith, right? So, or at least someone that, I don't know, could get him into double digits in touchdowns. That's really the only area DK could improve. I mean, his yardage, about 1,000 yards, that's pretty much what you can expect from him. But I guess it's possible he could get back to 1,200 once. I mean, Terry McLaurin did it last year. So, speaking of McLaurin, I don't think that Deebo going there really hurts him that much. I think he was going to digress a little anyway from last year. So I still see about 950 in his future, 6 to 7 touchdowns next year, but definitely a regression from last year for McLaurin. But yeah, we'll get to players like that with our trades. So why don't we get right to the trades? It is a trade show, actually, right? So let's go ahead, bring them up here. So the first deal involves, let me think here. Yeah, the first one I want to talk about is from my League of Champions League. This one, let's see here. I don't know why it's doing this to me. Okay. All right. So anyway, the first trade is in my League of Champions League. It was Foss Boss and myself, and we were dealing I gave him the 104. This is a 10-team start 11. It's a lot of flexes and a decent amount at least. And so I gave him my 104 pick. In return, I got the 107 and 202, and I kicked back the 304 to him. So really, I fell back 3 spots, moved up 12 in a 10-team league where the 202 is like the 12th pick. I really like this one because I kind of have a mega tier, at least is how I'd describe it. Let me try something out of sleeper. I'd really like to show these trades up front to you. So yeah, I see a mega tier of about right now that I like, and those players could fluctuate. So that's why I did this trade. I think the 104 to 107 isn't that big of a drop off at this point. And so that's why I like the 107 as not much of a different pick than the 104, only because I really don't need a quarterback in that league. If I really needed a quarterback, I might have stayed tight at the 104 to be able to hopefully land Cam Ward. But there we go. I'll bring this deal up for you guys. Okay. All right, there we go. So here it is. 10-team, start 11, super flex, tight end, premium type league. But key is here, there is an extra point for every reception across the board. So it's a little odd in that regard. It favors wide receivers ultimately. And this is the main reason I wanted to do this, because at the 202, I like the range of receivers that are potentially going to be there. And but not as much at the 304. Okay. If I get one at the 107, like Burden or Egbuka, we'll see. I don't know at this point. I think that's a little bit high for those two. I think I've got them at the 108 and 109. but that can fluctuate a lot yet. We've got over a month until the actual NFL draft, so that's where I'm at, looking at if I'm wide receiver hunting in this year's draft, because just because the running backs are awesome this year, it doesn't mean you got to take a running back in the first round. Okay, that's where you can actually grab some good wide receivers this year. There is a few in the second round, but after that, I love the running back value at that point in the draft in rounds 3 and 4. So hence why I really wanted to get out of the move up from the third round pick is what started this, and then the idea of moving back in the first round. And I don't hate this deal for Fossboss. He's getting it's tough to move up in the first round to only, a second, third rounders. They're all, seconds are a little better, but thirds are really dart throws. But I mean, a 202 hitting is like a 50-50 shot. All right, we'll get into a wide receiver last year who many maybe pushed up this high to the 202 and it didn't turn out, right? So that'll be the third deal. Next up, though, I want to talk about another first round deal, and this one would have been from here, 1 second. That would be from my Crash and Smash League. That's a 12-team start 12 best ball with a little IDP mixed in. There's 3 IDPs, so not a huge deal with the IDPs, but it adds a little wrinkle to the league, I guess. The deal, what am I doing? Here we go. All right, so this deal had the 102 going for Joe Mixon and the 111, tossed in a 5th rounder there as well. But the 102 for the 111 and Joe Mixon, like, I love the tier, like I just said, all the way down to pick like 13. But man, this seems a little just seems a little bit too much, I guess. Value on the 102 side. I mean, I would think you could have gotten earlier first, as well as somebody like Mixon, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know who else you tried going to. Nonetheless, the 102 is an awesome pick. You're going to be able to land Marion Hampton there, or Tet if you want. I don't know if you really need Cam Ward. Then it's a possibility. Like if he goes 101, I could see his value getting a bump. But for now, Genty has the 101. 102 to me is going to be it's going to be Hampton, probably more likely than not, because he's going to land somewhere in an awesome position. Okay, he's either going to go, like, Genty could go to the Raiders, may fall to the Cowboys, but then so Hampton could go to the Cowboys, Denver at 20, Steelers at 21, and the Chargers at 22. So those are 3 prime landing spots. 4 if you count the Cowboys. So he's going to end up in one of those spots very likely, and going to be able to eat right away out of the gate. So I like the trade for both sides. I mean, Matt English here, who got the 102, he's just looking to try and consolidate a little bit here, because he's got a few draft picks in the first in that league. So I think if I remember right, he's got the 107. I'm not sure. Let me see here. $110. Okay, so yeah, that's right. So he was just figuring he only needed one player in that range, really, and that's why he wanted to force the move up here. And I like it. I don't know. I mean, the other guy, it's not a terrible move. I mean, Joe Mixon's got at least one good solid year left in him. I think it's possible the Texans draft his replacement, just the way, running backs are. And at the age Mixon's at, this is an extremely good class. That's something to keep in mind here. We're used to trying to look at the youngest wide receivers because we don't have a huge running back class like this that often. So that said, even if you're like 50-50, I'd lean running back this year because you don't know how deep next year's running back class is going to be, and the year after and the year after. Like, think about it. The 2017 class has carried us for 8 years here. And it was pretty damn deep. Like, there were late round gems in there. Chris Carson, Aaron Jones, of course, a 5th rounder. Even Austin Eckler, who was an undrafted free agent, has smashed from time to time in you for Dynasty. And I think this class has a lot of ability to do that. There's some dudes in the 3rd and 4th rounds that we're going to grab in our rookie drafts that are going to be valuable. So keep that in mind. Try and get those tacked onto the backside of a deal if you can. Now, we're going to move on to the deals that involved veterans for 2nd round picks. And the first one, let me go ahead and find this one here. Where is it? There we go. Oh, let's see. How can I bring this one up here? Well, I'll just tell you this one because it's pretty simple. It's a 12-team start 10 lineup league, and it was AD Mitchell for a 27-second. And the reason, I know it sounds like a simple deal, just AD Mitchell for a 27-second, but AD Mitchell is, to me, a no-go. Like, he face planted his first year. If you don't get to a certain threshold, and that's about 625 yards in your rookie season, it's very hard to actually hit. Like, there's very few guys who have finished as wide receiver ones after not getting to that threshold. And like Dynasty, it used to be where, you were waiting for that 3rd year breakout, right? And now it's literally come to be a 1st year breakout. If you don't hit in your first year in the NFL, you're turning into like Quentin Johnston. So that's my point. Like, you got to and Quentin Johnston's all right in a best ball format, but he's definitely not producing at the 107, 108, 109-ish range that people drafted him in. All right. And so you can't get caught up in the sunken cost fallacy. All right. So AD Mitchell here, maybe a good bet on Havdi's roster. I'm not sure. Maybe he's got Anthony Richardson or something. So it is a stack maybe. But I don't know. 27-second, I would rather hang on to and use in a different way. But yeah, so good deal for Foss Boss in that one. I don't love it on I am Havdi's side, but again, I don't know his roster, so that's where he might have had 427 seconds for all I know, and then okay, I guess I'll toss one for a shot at AD Mitchell because I don't have him on any of my other teams. Maybe that's it. So the other trade that I know I can get to here, and that will be in my 2 quarterback, 2 tight end league. So we have to start 2 quarterbacks and start 2 tight ends every week. This one, and we start 12 total. So again, a lot of flexes. It is just a 10-team league, but start 12. So it's kind of similar in scarcity to a 12 by 10. The quarterbacks are a little easier to get, but then it's evened out by the fact that it's start 2 quarterback. So this deal, where is it? There we go. Okay. Everybody. So we have the Fantasy Reaper here getting a 205 and the 505, and Bear 55 getting Brian Robinson, a little brain rob in the house for Bear 55. Yeah, I like the Reaper side in this one. I don't hate Brian Robinson, but there's like 3 Brian Robinsons in Devin Neal, Damian Martinez, Jordan James, those backs, those are all first and second down grinders that you can get later in the second, even early third. So I don't know. I prefer the 205, a little more flexibility at this point in the draft season as well. So that's where my thoughts are on that. I guess I'm not trying to be too hard on the veteran running backs here, but and especially some guys like Kyron Williams and who's another one? Well, Kyron, for instance, like Blake Corum was injured a bunch last year, and if he comes back, healthy, he should be able to get more snaps this next season there in LA. And I hate bringing this up with Williams, but he wasn't, he didn't have a high draft capital, and Blake Corum was brought in there for a reason. He started to get a little more work, but then he got injured right away. And I don't know. I'm a little scared if any Kyron Williams shares. I wouldn't mind grabbing Blake Corum if he's cheap enough. There's very few running backs that I'd buy right now, just because I want to see how the values shake out for the top end running backs based on landing spots. Some of those guys are going to jump once the masses realize, oh shit, he's in Denver, he's going to smash. Like, yeah, you can still see it happening with like Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins going there, and their value getting a nice bump. So let's see. There was one more deal as well. That's right. In the crash and smash, right? Let me look here. No, that wasn't it. Dang, which league was that? Shoot, I forget what trade I'm missing. It had hold on. Well, I did get a trade offer here. I wonder what it is. This is a 16-team, 1 quarterback league. I'd get the 303 in a second for the 202. I'll have to think about that. It's not terrible. But yeah. All right. Well, I will go over that trade next week because I feel bad. I knew I had thought, okay, Chad's there, right on the ball, the Turtle League. All right. Thanks, Chad. There we go. Yes, Fossboss and Havdi getting back into it with another deal. Here we go. Hopefully you hung in here so you can catch this last one. Okay, so this one had I am Havdi getting Trey Benson and the 303. Fossboss getting Mike Evans. Boom. This is a nice, I like this as a fair trade pretty much. Trey Benson, you got a good shot there at some work. James Conner never stays healthy for all 17 games. So as long as Benson can stay healthy this year, he's going to get a look. I don't expect Arizona to be grabbing a running back in the top 3 rounds, but you never know. But I think it's a decent bet on that side. Mike Evans, hey, what can I say? Solid as it comes, but you never know when the end will be. He's probably going to get 1 year out of him. Beyond that, I can't guarantee anything. So I'm with you on Foss Boss. I hope you hit on this one, but both ways, I think it's pretty even, this deal. Right. So that would be the last deal. But before I go, I wanted to see how you guys felt about those veteran for second round picks, basically Brian Robinson for a 205 and A.D. Mitchell for a 27 second. Like, Mike Evans is probably an early second right now. He's in that range. Terry McLaurin, maybe late first, early second. I think you're looking at a second, really. I don't see getting a first for those guys. DK is even on the back end of the first, possibly an early second round pick. Because think about where these guys are all going in a startup draft, right? They'd go, I don't know, round 7, 8. We just did a startup and we got DK in on the last pick in the 8th round. Okay. So, and that's a best ball league. You'd think he'd be a little more valuable somewhat in a best ball, but regardless, the point is that's where DK is going. And, you know, last year, the second rounders were going right around that area. Now this year, they're not going till about the 10th round, but regardless, you see DK has a chance. The good thing about him is if he goes somewhere with a real good quarterback like Josh Allen, even Sam Darnold, he's going to get a bump. Darnold could sling it better than Geno Smith. It's just the way it is. So Geno put up numbers, but I don't know if a Kubiak system is going to really get it there for DK. Not with Geno Smith running it. So I'd love Drake May for DK as well. He needs a top flight number 1 wideout. And if you saw any of his film or a few games maybe of his time back at North Carolina with Josh Downs, you know that May can feed someone. And so he's got great arm talent at all levels, you know, short, intermediate to long balls. So Drake May he's just looking for one stud this year, whether it's a rookie wideout or it's a nice veteran. He's got to get one guy at least, right? They can't just keep playing this tight end game with with New England. Like, and I'm praying to God their top wideout that they acquire here this offseason is not Xavier Restrepo. That's all I get at with the Patriots. Houston wouldn't be an option anymore. Probably not with them just getting Christian Kirk. Who else could I see? So it really comes down to the Packers, Raiders, or Patriots. The Bills are a great option. That's a nice pipe dream. I just don't know. They might. I mean, they'd probably have to put Keon Coleman on the way back on the backside. So like a second in Keon Coleman. I don't know. They'd be kind of admitting a mistake. You don't have to deal Keon Coleman. They could try and do it without him. But yeah, so that's about all I've got for tonight. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And check out our Patreon. I just updated the rookie rankings once again for you. It's all with my post-combine feelings. That will change. That could change almost daily now. There is some more film I got to watch on some of these guys. I have to figure out, like I mentioned earlier, the 1 and 2 down grinders. I got to differentiate between Devin Neal, Damian Martinez, and Jordan James. You could kind of throw Ollie Gordon into that mix too. So and Scadabo. So, there's some evaluation to go on yet, because somewhere there's got to be in the second round, you got to figure out some kind of tier you want to put together. And I'm not sure where that line ends. I know it starts at pick 14, but then it'll be interesting to see how the community adjusts to these players and their combines, and then pro days coming up as well. All right. I want to thank you again for joining tonight. Any questions, throw me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show, or on my Patreon. Check it out. We have two roster reviews coming up next week for our couple of our wings tier members. They get a free roster review with that, and they've got their teams picked out. Matt English and I will do a nice deep dive on their teams and let them know maybe what a couple of moves would be that would be beneficial, and where their team is headed, whether it's a contender this year, or it should be going more towards a rebuild or a retool, so to speak. We'll get into that with those teams. Also want to remind you, at the end of the month, we've got a big mock draft coming up with two guys from DD Fantasy. First of all, Shane Manila from Shane Says and Mannequin Chill. And then you've got John Bauer from Dynasty Theory coming on the show on the 27th, a Thursday night. We'll be doing a mock draft. Matt English will be in the house as well. So we'll have all four of them we'll do a 4-rounder that night. So everybody will get 3 picks in each round. Anyway, that should be a blast. And so, again, thank you for coming in tonight. I will see you probably on Monday evening for Mock Draft Monday. Remember, guys, never stop working.